unit 3 and 4, if there are going to be any clarity that I would need.
Amber, your voice has not reached here properly.
Pardon me, miss?
I couldn't hear you properly. Can you repeat again?
I said I read unit 1 and 2, but so far it's been clear.
Okay.
So I don't know as I continue to 3 and 4 if I would need any clarity, but so far I think I'm following pretty much.
All right, that's great. That's great. And apart from that, you can also read various other research papers. Also, you should always read the current studies that is going on in a particular topic. So you can go to Google Scholar and then find research papers, right?
Yes,
So
miss.
coming to this topic, this is block 4 and unit 1 consists of the topics like physical changes. And we're going to see the changes, the physical changes that takes place in the early adulthood, middle age and old age. So this topic we have, as you have been saying, if you have been witnessing uh, the the changes since infant, since the conception of the baby in the womb. So you have seen the various changes, the physical development that has taken place from the conception, the zygote, the chromosomes, the cells, the chromosomes and all the stuff. So now we'll see the changes that takes place in the early adulthood, the physical changes. So that happens between 20 to 40 years. So overall, individuals over here, they are vibrant and they're active and healthy. They focus more on friendship and they get indulged in romantic relationships and their partner and their marriage and career, childbearing and careers and all the stuff. So all this happens. These are the physical changes that takes place. Then now in the middle adulthood, they are more, or they more focus more on their careers, and if there are any career change, if they want to change their careers, they would focus on that as well. If they are not happy with the current job profile, they want to, that is the second stage of their adulthood. Then the last one is again late adulthood or old age. So 65 plus, many people would retire over here, like the timeline that has been set by the society. But many people, they would start something even after retirement. They want to start something new. That's the new trend that is going on right now in the world, in different part of the countries, or even for developing countries, we can say. So all these changes, physical changes takes place. So that's what they're talking about. So you can definitely give a reading to this. They're very simple again, but at the same time we'll look after the operational definitions and the explanation that has been provided by psychologists, and one of them is Erikson. So this, according to him, this period is characterized by crisis of intimacy versus isolation. So if you remember his theory of um, his theory on the concept of he has talked about identity crisis in this stage also. So he the kind of crisis that happens, not identity crisis, but the kind of crisis that could happen at this stage could be intimacy versus isolation. So if the person is if they are into in a healthy relationship, then they find intimacy. Otherwise that could lead to isolation if they feel stagnant, or if their marriage is not well or it's not going healthy. So that could be one of the issue. Erickson has explained about that, and even Freud has done a lot of work. Where adulthood is a time for work and love. So people focus on their relationship, uh, their marriage and their work as well. So that's what even Freud has studied. So he also mentions that our life centers around careers and relationships. The most of the time the focus is on career and relationship. So the learning, the schooling and friendship, all these are done before this, but most of the focus is on, the time is devoted to careers and relationship. You want to make a place, you want to grow healthy in your relationship, in your friendship, in your workplace, at your workplace. So that's what they're talking about. And still, yes, talking about the physical changes, still the body grows, and they in a full you know the body takes place. So they are known as emerging adulthood also, and that happens between 18 to 25 years of age. So this happens. Then middle adulthood, that would be again now um, then 40 to 60 years, so they are in their late 30s and early 40s, and late 40s, late 50s, early 50s. All these changes takes place, and they want to enjoy, they want satisfaction, they want job satisfaction, they want to be healthy in their relationships at the same time. And now they focus more, they're concerned on their children, their career, their education, their spending time with them. So more attention is also given to children and health as well, and then their parents. So at this age, 40 to 60 age, the individual also look after their parents. So their parents are into old age, and then they have to look after them. And then at this age, we could many individuals could witness the loss of their parents if they're an old individuals. So this one also we witness all this changes takes place, and transition happens from time to time. So everybody, it doesn't mean that if somebody is 50 years old they cannot start something new, but there are very various examples you might have seen. When people, they want to change their careers, they want to get into something. Many people you might have heard at the age of 50 they started modeling, or they started their business, and they're a successful person. So if you remember Barack Obama, he retired during his, I think, late 40s. But Donald Trump, he became the president during his late 40s or 50s, I guess. So everybody has their own timeline. So that's what successful aging is. It doesn't mean that we have to. There's a timeline and we have to follow that only. But now these days you'll find various changes. People are focusing on their happiness, and they want to stay healthy, both mentally and physically, and and socially also at the same time. Then for women, when we talk about women between 40 to 60 years, you might have seen certain cases. You might have seen studies on how women should go for regular medical checkups for cancer checkups, or for any kind of checkups. They should go for the bodily changes, and the medical checkups should be done at this particular age group. Then there's this concept of menopause, 45, 50, the age group, between the age group of 45 and 50, there are hormonal changes. So apart from that, what are the other physical changes that could lead? So in menopause, it's supposed to be accompanied by some distressing physical and psychological symptoms in women. And then though both the genders they experience graying of hair, but women, they have more other changes, like distressing physical and psychological symptoms in women after or during the period of menopause. Then in old age, that is 65 years. So you might have heard about these days, people, they're complaining more about the calcium deficiency. They have knee problems, so knee replacement is done. Cardiovascular disease, digestive malfunction. Then psychological issues, we can talk about psychological issues in terms of depression or impaired memory functioning, Alzheimer disease, dementia, Lewy dementia, mild cognitive impairment. So this cycle begins from mild cognitive, and then Alzheimer, and then dementia. So all this cognitive neuropsychological disorders also takes place at the age of 65 and plus, apart along with the other comorbidities, disease like diabetes, or high BP or hypertension. All those could lead to certain other neuropsychological issues. So that's what we could expect. We have seen the studies have been conducted and have been reported. Then apart from that, the physical changes that takes place at this age would be wrinkles. Then somebody has joined. So all these wrinkles, then there are less interest in the sexual, uh, low interest in sexual attention, and then the body changes in terms of skin, posture, hair, and gray hair, and knee calcium deficiency, and many other activities. So apart from that, we also have very common changes that takes place, that is hearing, vision, then cataract, a very important, a very common problem that happens in with regard to eyes. Then macular degeneration, sensitivity, all this retina breaks down, blurred central vision, all these activities. I mean, all these changes takes place in the individual. Taste and smell, then digestion problem, digestive malfunction, as we have seen, taste and smell problem, touch also. So there could be some environmental allergies that could because of the weathers that could also create problem in the late adulthood. And the problem then changes in bones and muscles, teeth and mouth. So if they are not, if we don't take proper care at the age of, we should start taking care of ourselves from soon the problems start. Otherwise, that could lead to several other issues later in the age group of 60 or 65. Then digestion, we have talked about this. I think it's a very common problem even in young kids also. Diabetes, type 2 diabetes, a very common problem in many of the countries. And we also have type 1 diabetes. So anyone who, like, the parents should take care of certain of their genetic disorders, otherwise that could be, passed on from one generation to another generation. Then circulation, low blood circulation, BP, high BP, edema, swelling in legs, and then a lot of stress at this age group also. At the same time, loss of partner, and various other cardiovascular and respiratory system problems. So all this takes place. Something which is very common, and you'll see this. So immune system, if somebody gets some kind of autoimmune disease, then that is also a problem. Then cancer, arthritis, diabetes, we've talked about these. They're very, very common issues now. And sleep apnea, sexuality, changes in sexual response, physical disabilities. Then we also have, this they have described aging into two category: primary aging and secondary aging. So primary aging would be biological aging that occurs even in the context of good health. So even if somebody who's very healthy and done doing everything to keep themselves healthy, eating healthy food, still they're going to age, right? So that is known as primary aging. And yeah. So, secondary aging would be something which is more hereditary. The hereditary defects and negative environmental influence like poor diet, lack of exercise, disease, substance abuse, environmental pollution, and stress. So, it could include arthritis, osteoarthritis, and there are various kinds of arthritis that takes place. Then diabetes, so diabetes and cancer again, various kind of cancer. So, women between the age group of 35 to 40, they should 30, in fact, 35 years after soon their menopause start, they should go for this cancer checkups. So all this are the issues that you will see in this unit one, that is physical changes across the different adulthood ages. Then the cognitive changes that takes place in the adulthood, in the early and middle and old age, we'll see that. So, when it comes to cognitive changes, they're also talking about the memory impairment, the concept of memory impairment. Definitely, we have the evidence with regard to mild cognitive impairment, which is very. I mean, it is the reason behind. I mean, some physical disorders, some physical disease, they're responsible for certain cognitive impairments like mild cognitive impairment or subjective cognitive decline, Alzheimer disease, dementia, Lewy dementia, vascular dementia. So all these are, one step further because of the physical disease that contributes to certain cognitive impairment also. So memory, Parkinson disease, schizophrenia. If we talk about psychological issues, then it's not about age. It's not just that in a particular age group you are getting it, but due to the stressful life events that takes place in the early adulthood, that could contribute, and that takes a toll after a particular period of time. So cognitive, psychological, along with the physical, we also have to look after the cognitive, psychological, and other issues that has to be looked after. So cognitive changes, when it comes to cognitive changes also, we don't understand. We can talk about realistic and pragmatic thinking. So over here, realistic thinking means looking at all aspects of a situation, the positive, the negative. Though we grow in a certain manner, like according to Piaget, we at the formal operational stage, we above that also, even Erickson has talked about the different stages. So we grow, and then we are developing in some or the other way. But at the same time, after a particular age group, we face problems in certain cognitive parts of our brain, and the various brain issues like memory impairment. So memory, because of the age, how different parts of the brain that's get affected. So that's what we are talking about here. Then we also have two stages that has been supported by A. Werner Sache, and then he talks about cognitive changes in adults, so achieving stage, and the other one is responsibility stage. So the first stage involves applying one's intelligence to situations that have profound consequences on achieving long-term goals, such as those involving careers. So this stage of development includes mastering the cognitive skills needed to monitor one's own behavior. Young adult in this stage will also acquire a considerable amount of independency. So this stage, you use your intelligence, but in your career. So if you want to make any uh, like if you want to grow in your career, you're using these changes, and you grow with your experience. You ask, so whenever you recruit new individuals, you ask for their experience, right? So over here, the cognitive changes that takes place is that you're using your experience. You focus on your long term goals. You want to achieve something. So the kinds of cognitive skills that is required, you want to master them, and so that it looks into your behavior and you work better at your workplace, right? So the responsibility stage, the another one, so it starts in the early adulthood and extends till middle adulthood. So this is the time when a family is established and attention is given to the needs of the spouse and children. Young adults incur social responsibilities, deals with starting a career, and must take on some levels of responsibility for others at work and in the community. So at one point of time, you want to achieve something in your career, and the other point of time, you want to contribute something to your family, and you have a responsibility. That's what they're talking about, right? And there are various other studies also supporting, psychologists also have supported this thing. And then we can also talk about the various kinds of reflective and relativistic thinking. So when we were young kids, we couldn't get indulge in, we never did reflection on our thoughts, on our behavior, on our action. But now psychologists, they believe that at a particular point of time, we do this kind of thinking. We reflect upon our behavior, we reflect upon our careers. Are we achieving or not? So if you remember Erickson's the last two stages, if we don't feel generativity in our careers, or if we feel that we're not contributing something to the society, we feel stagnant. So for that, we need certain kind of thinking, that is reflective and relativistic thinking. So that's what they're talking about. And then in the middle adulthood, that is 40 to 60 years, and over here, various, I mean, it's really difficult, not difficult, but it is difficult for some individuals to even lose their extra fat, or they want to lose their fat, and the hormonal changes, and many other issues gets developed at this age. So they want to look after the family also, and the social life. They have a, their parents are aging. That's what they're talking about in this age. And the cognitive changes that could take place in this age particularly is the intelligence. So crystallized intelligence, they're talking about two kind of intelligence. The crystallized is something uh, which is developed according to your past experience, like vocabulary. When we were young kids, we knew less number of vocabularies, but now we know more vocabulary. So crystallized intelligence, it keeps on growing. If you learn more, it will grow. But fluid intelligence, it shrink with the passage of time. So they're talking about this. We grow at a particular period of time. It is growing, but at some point of time in the middle adulthood, it will stop, and in the late adulthood, it definitely stops to grow. So intelligence, they're talking about these two kind of intelligence. And apart from that, we also have seen, if you remember, in intelligence topic, we have talked about analytical, academic, creative, practical intelligence. So all this also plays a very important role. Like practical intelligence, it comes with experience. It's not that until unless you have practiced it, or you have that experience with some kind of environment, you cannot have that kind of intelligence. So it comes with a particular age group. So though Robert Sternberg never provided the age groups for this types of intelligence, but it grows with the passage of time and as you grow old. So in middle adulthood, you can definitely acquire all these types of three types of intelligence. That's what studies have supported with. Then we also, you should definitely, I think, I'm sure many people have heard about Viktor Frankl. the person from the concentration camp. So he has written a book on existence, the meaning to life. So his book exploration, and then what we want from our lives, why have we come to this planet, and what is the purpose of our life. So at this point of time in the middle adulthood, we would also, again referring to Erickson's theory, the last two theories. So they have talked about, if you feel stagnant, you're not going to grow. Otherwise, if you feel that you have contributed something to the society, you feel strong, and then you feel okay, you have generated something from your life. So that's what they're talking about in this topic. And in the late adulthood, so here again the Erickson's last stage of theory, it comes into the picture, that is integrity versus despair. So many work has been done. We also have some other theories that have supported the concept of successful aging, and now this is known as late adulthood. So and another discipline is there to study this concept, that is known as gerontology, and then it is an interdisciplinary field that studies the process of aging, and the aging population involves psychology, biology, sociology, and other fields. So this has been studied, people are studying, and various other theories of successful aging has come up. So how you can successfully age. So that one of the theory is the disengagement theory. So it states that as people age, their withdrawal from society is normal and desirable, as it relieves them from responsibility and roles that has become difficult. So this process also opens up opportunities for younger people. Society benefits as more energetic people fill the vacated position. So this theory, the theories, they came to the conclusion that people at this age should retire from social responsibility, and then so that other individuals could come, young people could come and fill up the vacant position, even in jobs or various other duties and responsibilities, so that the person could focus more on their health, and they could retire from the responsibilities. So that is one of the disengagement theory. While we have another theory that is known as activity theory, and then it believes, so it was of this concept that it is necessary to maintain a life of quality, and use it or lose it. So they believe on it's like either you use it or lose it. So no matter whatever your age is, you should always be active in various perspectives of lives, physically, mentally, and socially. So it doesn't mean that you have to get disengaged and not get engaged in any activities, but you have to have a proper quality of life, both physically, mentally, socially, cognitively. So that was one of the theory. And we have this concept of ageism. So ageism may be defined as the prejudice or discrimination that occurs on the basis of age. Although it can be used against people of all ages, older people are more frequently its target, and it may often result in forced retirement. So you might have seen in different countries there are different age. There is a different age group. Like in some of the countries, people retire at 58, some at 65, some at 62, 60. So why this? Why not 70 or before? Maybe late. Maybe many people they work till 80 years also. So all this. I mean, theories are talking, gerontologists, they are talking about successful aging. So we should definitely look into this, and various studies, various research are conducted. And the kind of cognitive changes that takes place would be, first of all, it's the memory that's get affected, and so implicit memory. So many of like conscious awareness is not there, and associative memory. So like creativity or problem solving, it's not now, people are not able to do that. And long term memory also gets affected, autobiographical memory also gets affected. We're not talking about the cognitive decline or some kind of cognitive impairment, the normal memory impairments that takes place, or normal aging, we can say normal cognitive aging that could take place due to aging. But we do have evidence to, yes, and there are various other issues and evidence towards cognitive impairments, like I mentioned, Alzheimer, mild cognitive, subjective cognitive decline, dementia, and many other. And there is also the language processing also gets delayed in the late adulthood. So they will be more hesitant, and they will not be able to repeat certain words. Then problem solving, like I mentioned, it is affected, and they're not able to solve certain problems, and problem solving activities are not done by them now. And since we talked about fluid and crystallized intelligence, so it is again another study by K. Warner itself and Sherry Willis. They've reported that a decline in cognitive performance could reverse in 40 to 60% of elderly individuals who take remedial training. So to keep the brain active, certain cognitive training could be done. Otherwise, this like intelligence, they gets affected, fluid intelligence and crystallized intelligence, if their memories are not intact. Then retirement and widowhood, all this, they're very common and painful, process for the individual. So across universally 65 is the age, but you'll find in many of the countries and states, the some people retire at 58, maybe 60, 62. So it's a different age group for every individuals, or for depending on the nature of the countries. But at the same time, gerontologists has also talked about happy retirement and how they can focus on their happy life after retirement. But at the same time, they have some chronic health issues like arthritis and many other issues. But and one more thing, poverty. Again, poverty is a very important thing. Poverty, if they're like a pension, pension, if they're not receiving any kind of pension, individual can face certain crises in their late adulthood also during retirement. And then widowhood, maybe they can, if one of the partner is lost, then it's really difficult for them to survive now. So women tend to marry men older than they are, and average they live 5 to 7 years longer than men. So but at the same time, in some part of the country, even if the women, like if the female is not there, then men, they can marry, but in some of the country they don't. But again, it's a very debatable question. So widows or widowers is a very debatable question on how they live their lives, or if they want to get married again, or it's not about marriage, but if they would find the correct person, or maybe if they want to have spent some time with another new person. So widowhood, again, it's a very painful situation in the late adulthood. Then death and dying. So yesterday also, I think I mentioned about Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. They suggested these basic reactions when somebody is at this age. They deny, or if somebody has lost their partner, so they will deny. They don't want to accept the reality and anger that why it has happened to them, or why somebody who's close to them has happened. Then bargaining, they would bargain with God that why they should not, they should be given more time, and they would live into depression for a certain period of time. And then after a certain period of time, they would accept, okay, fine, that is what it was. It has to happen. So that's one thing. So uh, now, what cognitive interventions could take place? So, cognitive interventions could take place, like we could help individuals to stay in, in a in a place where they could, make new friends, or they could develop. We could, share their experiences, or take their experience, life experiences, and make use of the experiences in some or the other way. So cognitive intervention has to be done, and every country, I think, they has to take this responsibility, that how successful aging of individuals or elderly individual has to be done. So as Erickson's has already talked about the different age group, he has also talked about the crisis that happens at the last stage. So now it's about death and dying, and not accepting the reality. But there are various other issues also that happen. So the conflict that could arise is the integrity versus despair. So if they felt that they haven't contributed anything, now they would be in despair that okay, fine, there's no time also, and now they cannot contribute to the society in any manner. So retirement, all this happens, at this age. That is unit 2. Then the psychosocial changes that takes place in early adulthood and middle age and old age. We could see the theories. So Erickson's theory we have already seen. We can see Levinson's theory of life theory, and attachment patterns and romantic relationship. We'll see that. Okay, any questions? Anything you want to add?
Excuse me, I'm seeing in the unit one. They would have stated that in the introduction that the
Sunny,
young
please,
adult
your voice is, it's cracking
noisy.
over here.
1 second.
Uh,
Okay. Now,
yeah, it's better.
okay. In the introduction for Unit 1, I'm seeing that I think we did this before, but in young adulthood, they give the age range is from 20 to 40, and middle adulthood from 40 to 65, and the later adulthood is 65 and older. But I've seen in some parts afterwards they said in the middle adulthood is from 40 to 60. Does it make a difference which one we use or which one should be used? 40 to
See,
65?
yeah, see that it is age group is something which is not, you know, it shouldn't be a strict rule for this. I mean, you can use different. I mean, you can use it, but it's not that somebody who is 63 will be in the middle adulthood or somebody who's 65 will be only in the late adulthood. You can use it. It depends from researcher to researcher. So depending on the researcher you want to quote, you can use that age range,
Okay,
right? Yeah. So that is subjective explanation to that.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll talk about Levinson's season of life theory. Even he has described the different age group according to the age groups. Like the first one is the life structure. So over here, mm, so he believes that our lives changes after every 7 years. So there is a transition that happens after every 7 years, or between 5 to 7 years. You know, age groups they're like this. That it doesn't mean it should be between 5 to 7 only, or it could happen beyond that also. But it could be nearby in the age group of nearby years only. So he has talked about the first early transition that takes place. It happens at the age of between the age group of 17 to 22 years. So the people over here, why now? Why the first transition takes place at this age? Because over here, individuals they dream and their mentors. They have mentors and they want people guide them, and people they are more individuals. They are more into career uh, persuasion. They want to understand what is good for them, what is bad for them career wise. They want to grow if it's a business or many other activities. So that's the first transition that takes place, we can say. And the next one would take place at the age around 30 years, when the individuals they are around 30. So over here, their partners contribute a lot, their marriage, their child, their individualistic goals. So as a career wise they have grown, and now they want to focus on their family and relationships and marriage, and they want to settle down for their partners and all this thing. And the next one would be at the late age group. And because also why this changes happens, because now they want to settle in life and in their career. If they've achieved everything, then that could bring a settlement in their life with regard to their family, children, career, and their romantic relationship, the society, all those stuff. And the last one will take place. The transition will take place after this. Now they want to also focus on what they have contributed to the society in any way. And definitely yes, in the early transition you might have seen that they want to focus. They're striving for the relationship, for the best partner, for the children, for their careers. Now settlement also has to be there. Also another study you would find on the triangular theory of love. That is, again, it was given by Sternberg, and he suggests that there are three components of love: intimacy, passion, and commitment. So intimacy, it has just to do with emotions and tenderness. If you give this kind of love to your partner, so it's just the intimacy. And then the passion is the sexual component, the romance or the physical, and the last one is compassionate love. So it is the commitment. It's not just the physical or the emotional. It is the commitment that you want a solid long term relationship now. So this is the transition that takes place at the later at the late 40s. We can no time period has been given, I guess, but yeah, it could happen late in the late after 30s or in the middle age. So for many of the individuals, so for, let me tell you again, for age group, when it comes to age group, it doesn't mean that it will start at this age also. Like puberty, earlier it used to hit, I mean, puberty will hit in children at the age of 30 or 40, 13 or 14 years, but now it has there evidence when children gets hit with puberty by 11 years also. So it is not limited to any age group. Yes, you could be nearby. If it's 60, 65, that is fine, but 60 and 90, there is a huge difference. So you have to be, you can give some kind of liberty to the age group or to the researchers also of the lifespan psychology or lifespan perspective. Then we have another topic that is on attachment patterns and romantic relationship. So the kind of attachment patterns we have shown during our young, I mean during when we were young kids, that kind of attachment, it plays a very important role in our romantic relationship. So secure attachment, so it is one kind of attachment where the caregivers, even the caregiver leaves the child, and when he comes back, the child is secure. Is he feels that okay, the person has gone, he will come back, he or she will come back, the caregiver will come back, and this kind of individuals, they also show trusting. They're very trusting and happy in their relationship. The partners are friend, and they're not discomfort. There's no discomfort in their relationship. And they also describe satisfying sexual behavior also. So that is one kind of attachment. Then avoidant attachment. So these kids, those who have shown avoidant attachment, when they were young kids, they're very anxious when they were caregivers have left them for the job, or maybe a mother is working and they have left. The child would be very anxious, and when the mother come back or the caregivers come back, they avoid them. They want them, but they would avoid them, and after some time they want to go with them, but they don't trust them, now that they've left, and it's very difficult for them to stay away apart from the parents or the caregivers. So now again, these individuals in their relationship also, it's really difficult for them to trust, and emotionally they're jealous, and emotional distance is really painful with them. So this kind of you know um, attachment they shows in their relationship also. Then the next one is resistant attachment. So these children again, it's very unpredictable. Their behavior are very unpredictable and unfair. So when the parents or their caregivers have left them when they were young kids, so they would not they would not want to meet them, and they would throw tantrums that why they have come so late, or why they have come now, or whatever it is. And these individuals again in their relationship also, they would have very poor boundaries with others, and they're very dependent on their friends or their partners, and it's really difficult. They also have this fear of abandonment, that and they're always people, they have this people pleasing personality. So that's what this kind of attachment has also explained. So this is a very important thing, the kind of attachment patterns we used to show when we were young kids, and the kind of romantic relationship, either in the romantic relationship, the kind of attachment patterns we display. So this also plays a very important role, because if you remember right now, we have talked about I mean, from 20 years, or 20 to 40, or 40 to 60, relationship has been a very important part of our lives. Our it's not just career, but your partners, our partners, or our family, all this has a very important role to play. So this will also, you'll find that is one of the theories. Then next theories. So they have talked about marriages, traditional marriages, egalitarian marriages, marital satisfaction, parenthood. All this also plays a very important role. The kind of parenthood, the kind of parenting you do with your kids, that also has an impact on their personality, on their relationships. So it's a cycle. The kind of parenting you display, or you have been displayed by your parents. If you bring changes to that, then that's fine. Otherwise, if you continue with the same style, the child or the children, they're going to suffer in any case if you don't take care proper care of it. Then a proper, nowadays these people are talking about positive parenting, and the different kinds of parenting has been described by various psychologists also. You can see that in lifespan again. So all these are some very sensitive topics that has been discussed. You can give a reading to this. No, as such theories are there, so we can talk about the next one, the psychosocial changes. Again, Erickson is going to come anyway in every stage of your lives, because he has talked about them in a very detailed manner. So ages 45 to 65. So now you can see he has talked about, earlier in some theories you will find 40 to 60, but over here it's written. But that's fine. That you don't have to be very specific about it. So all this, it happens from generativity. Again, you have to feel generative. If you have contributed, you think what kind of a parent you are. Are you giving the proper parenting style or positive parenting style or not? Is there stagnant, or you might feel stagnant, that you are not contributing to the society or to your children in any way. So apart from that, we also have, like we talked about, middle Levinson seasons of life. So he also has talked about middle adulthood transition that begins from 40 to 45, then 40 to 45, 45 to 50, 50 to 55. So after every 5 to 7 years, changes takes place, and that's what he has mentioned. And then there is this four developmental tasks to middle adulthood. So young, old, seeking new ways of being young and old, giving up some youthful qualities that no longer seem appropriate, and transforming others, finding positive meaning in changes, destruction, creation, whether you're creating something or destructing in any way, masculinity, femininity. So this is also has a very important role to play. Every individual is has these characteristics of, even females will have masculine characteristics, males will have feminine characteristics. So are they using them in a proper manner, or it should be balanced? So even if I'm a female, so I need to balance my masculine traits also. So engagement and separateness. So um, how engaged the individuals are with their uh, you know um, with their interior needs, and are they able to uh, you know provides proper support to the society, to the community, or it's just that they're just living their lives in any manner. So all these are some definitions and some concepts on psychosocial changes. And personality also, you will read about personality in MPC 3. So relationship, marriage and divorce, feminization or poverty, divorce, all this could affect individuals' day-to-day life, and some kind of, and their age range also. And yeah, all these are some basic readings. You can please give a reading to them. The psychological changes that takes place, psychosocial changes that takes place at different age group. So Erickson's theory, again, it has mentioned here. We have discussed them in detail. We can talk about Peck's theory. So there are three tasks of ego integrity that has been involved in finding integrity. So ego differentiation, work versus work role preoccupation. So these tasks come out of retirement, as people who have been invested in careers find others ways to self-worth. They must find another role to invest in and find meaning. So pets, they have contributed that to, in order to age successfully, we have to, um, since we have been very invested in our careers, even at the at the older age group, we have to feel that, or maybe we use our experience so that we could invest our time in a proper manner. So that's what they're talking about. Then body transcendence versus body preoccupation. So individuals, definitely, yeah, we were young, and when we were young, we didn't had any limitation or disabilities. But as we grow old, so we have to find happiness in some or the other way. So that's what they're talking about. So ego transcendence versus ego preoccupation. So this task involves finding a constructive way of facing the reality of death. So we should accept. I don't know. Uh, I haven't experienced this thing, but when we grow old, so we're going to definitely experience all this. So we have to think about mortality and going back to the younger generation. And well, again, we have to be positive in this sense also with regard to death and dying, you know. Then emotional expertise, we should emotionally we should be intelligent and then understand how emotional regulation we are going to do. So elders, they're better at emotional regulation, and yes, there are various studies which finds which support the evidence that as we grow older we are more emotionally healthy and emotionally intelligent, you know. And life review, I think even various psychologists also, they have done life review, understanding the individuals with regard to their what they have achieved in their lives. So life review can also be done to find peace in the late adulthood. And stability and changes in self-concept and personality. So yes, personality also, it changes from time to time. Our concept regarding spirituality, religion, our social desirables, agreeableness, we agree to changes from time to time. We don't want to be rigid, or we are not rigid at a certain point of time in our lives. So that's what they've mentioned. Then individual differences in psychological well-being. So we don't want to control individuals, we want to be independent. Or there's certain other positive things that could be done in the late adulthood. And the various issues on elder society, elderly abuse also, the various studies that has been done. So all this has to be looked after. So we have to think as an individual, now we have to think how we are going to survive in the late adulthood. So positive successful aging in fact has to be done. Then relationship in late adulthood, so our social friends, our friends, marriage, siblings, all this has a very important role to play. And then retirement and leisure time, so how we are going to use our leisure time at the old age, so all has to be done. Our finances has to be very stable when we talk about successful aging. That's a very important component, money, it's a very important component. So that's unit 3. Now, what are the challenges? There are a lot of challenges that you can see. It depends from country to country, also culture to culture. From gender, also there is a gender difference in the aging, both women and men. So there are issues, there are different issues. You can give a reading to this. I don't know if I've read or not, but physical, first of all, it starts with physical activities, physical health. And then for women, it's more of psychological challenges also, like menopause and hormonal imbalance, Then social challenges, if for a female, if the partner is lost, they cannot, it's really difficult for them to go out and make friends. And, if they have if they don't have proper friend circle or something. But for men, it's not a comparison, but there are no stigma attached to men. But from females, to in some countries, it is a stigma that they cannot go out, and they are bound to stay at home, depending on culture and society. But men, uh, like they're asked to even go and make friends, and even if they want to get married or something in some part of the countries, not everywhere, but yes, that's one issue. And we also have seen various issues regarding Alzheimer disease and senile dementia, like I've been mentioning about this from the beginning itself. Heart health, prostate health, all these are some issues in males. You'll find this. Skeletal health, joints and bones, calcium deficiency, mostly found in females. So these are some challenges with regard to physical issues. When it comes to issues in other factors like friends, then friends, society, poverty, definitely it has all these also play a very important role. Then okay, all this are, we have already talked about this: hearing and vision, health, disease, relationship, divorce, love issues, and family, friends, partners, loss of partner, loss of parents. All these are some issues. So all these are some basic reading. And yeah, some physical issues also it has mentioned here. So please give a reading to them. Yeah, so all it is here. You can definitely read all these readings because they are. So this book by Stuart Hamilton Ine, The Psychology of Aging, and you should also read these studies that is done in your respective cultures and your respective countries also. because again, aging is something which is dependent on culture, society, country, you know. So there are some universal traits also with regard to aging, but there's some uh, culture-based experience or culture-based expectations on aging, or positive aging or successful aging. So this is what I wanted to share about block 4, unit 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, can we have any questions or suggestions or any observations? Is it triggering in some way?
Yes, miss, it is pretty straightforward. And it speaks a lot to Erikson theories and Kubler-Ross, 5 stages of death and dying and all of that. It incorporates all of that.
Right. So can we have some experience, hear some experiences from individuals who have faced this or facing these issues on, oh, Sadhna, you got scared? Yes, yes, it is something. We don't have to get scared, but we need to focus on. I mean, we can focus with regard to our emotional intelligence and finances. I am more concerned about finances. So finance is it's an important thing in our country, and definitely the physical health. So you don't become unhealthy in just one day. The kind of lifestyle you have, the kind of food, the kind of diet, exercise, all this contributes, to your physical health at the later stage. It was sad, right? The topic.
Yes, I think that
Okay, right.
the topic is interesting because a lot of us are in our middle age, middle adulthood maybe, and we are now seeing what is waiting for us in the future. So it is giving us something to reflect on.
Yes, yes. Yes, it is. You can reflect on this process. Why not? Okay, I think we have some questions in the chat box. Yes, Vahid. So your question is, does aging happens with the brain or parts of the brain? Yes, it does. So, like there was this topic on cognitive aging, normal aging also. So even if the primary aging, even if you are not affected with any kind of physical issues or health issues, still you are going to age. So at the age of 70, you will have wrinkles only, even if you have had a proper diet your whole life, or the expensive creams and products are using, but still we are going to have wrinkles at a particular age group. So the same thing happens with our brain also. So there's this concept of cognitive impairment, mild cognitive impairment, Alzheimer disease, dementia. All this have has, it's not that it's mandatorily, it's not that it's going to be there, but we also have the brain parts also gets affected. So the episodic, yes. So in the normal aging cognitive, I think I've read a paper where the episodic memory gets affected, or the executive function, your language also, and many parts of the. So what happens when we age, our brain also shrink. So usually our brain, they have, I mean, it is presented in this manner, right? The left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. But when we age, our brain also shrink. So, and there's less oxygen supply in the brain, and the cerebral blood flow, which is known as cerebral blood flow. So when there's less cerebral blood flow due to certain activities, that is why it is believed that we have to exercise and meditate. So when there's less cerebral blood flow in the brain, our brains also shrink, and then like I mentioned previously, which part of the brain is actually responsible for memory and happiness and other things. We have not exactly found it till yet, even in till this time also. But like the hippocampus, the hypothalamus, the areas. So when there is less blood flow in these areas, our memories also get intact, and there are some memory impairment. Yes. So answering to a question, yes. So now, if yes, what are the effects in
Miss,
terms of the various stages? And so we cannot, yeah, just a second, June. So we cannot delay the process of aging. I mean, we can delay, we cannot reverse, I think. But anyway, it's going to be there. The primary aging is going to be there. But yes, who could uh, help in us or help individuals to get rid of higher cognitive impairments like dementia or Alzheimer. So we can get rid of that, but it's going to be still there.
so
Yeah.
Miss,
Yes, Jim.
um, does the shrinking of the brains apply for everyone? Because I've known cases whereas persons are in their 80s and early 90s and the faculty are intact as to remembering people, remembering things.
June, I didn't get your question. Can you please repeat?
So I was saying that does the shrinking of brains, as you said, as you get older, your brain tends to shrink. So I want to know if it applies to all individual who aging, because I've known cases where persons are in their late 80s and early 90s and their faculty intact when it comes to remembering things and remembering people.
Okay, June, let me tell you, there are six domains when it comes to cognitive impairments. There are six domains that get affected in the cognitive impairment or cognitive changes when it takes place. So the first one is episodic or episodic memory, attention, language. Then we have memory. Yes, memory also we have, and executional function and behavioral symptoms or behavioral changes also. So it's not mandatory that all the so when it comes to dementia, all these cognitive domains gets affected. But when it comes to the mild cognitive impairments, only one or the other domains might get affected, not all, but one or two. So according to studies, I can maybe I can show you that study just now. Just a second. I have yesterday only I was studying it.
Miss, hello, hi, Miss. Good morning.
Good
Um,
morning.
Living with my grandmother. When I noticed when she was aging, she was like more quarrelsome, and I've had contact with other elderly persons who are like that. Does that have does the brain, the shrinking of the brain, has anything to do with that too? Very like more
Yes,
quarrelsome.
yes, a very good question. Now I have the evidence to that. So, okay, first of all, let me answer June's question and then we can come to your question. So, as you can see, so this is the cognitive impairment that happens with regard to domain and then dementia and various other. So, Alzheimer disease, all this gets affected, So, one or the other thing will get affected. In mild cognitive, the episodic memory or the attention gets affected, and not attention, they're preserved, but yeah, only the immediate and delayed recall they get affected, or the recognition also in vascular dementia. So it's the immediate and delayed recall and recognition. While for attention, simple attention is fine with them, but divided attention is difficult for them to provide attention. The behavioral, when it comes to behavioral also, as you can see, there are various other changes. Behavioral, all these social interactions they get affected, and you know uh, So when it comes to aging, also Parkinson disease also has a lot to contribute, and even dementia has a lot to contribute to depression or hallucination or psychomotor slowing. You know, so these are some, and then yes, here is depression. So when if you've mentioned, I think somebody has mentioned about quarrel. The person your grandmother is quarreling with you, is fighting with you or getting annoyed at this age. That's what you're saying.
Yes, Miss, and I've
Yes,
noticed that with other older folks,
Yes, miss.
elderly.
yes,
Thanks for that
yes.
information.
Yes. So that's depression and then psychomotor slowing apathy and so immediate and delayed recall will be affected. So yes, why not? You can see here. These are some studies and because there is this frontal temporal lobe degeneration, and you can read this paper. It's a very interesting paper on clinical neuropsychology, and various tests has been constructed to identify what are the other psychological issues and cognitive domains gets affected in this age group. These are some tests also. And the activities, daily activities that get affected would be bathing, dressing, toileting, transferring, contingence feeding, you know, shopping, food preparation, housekeeping, all this gets affected and they're not able to take responsibility of their own medicines also. So yeah, yeah.
Miss,
And
excuse me, what's the name of the
Thanks for
paper?
that information, miss. Thanks for that
which one?
information.
The same paper you're saying that we should read here, that you have
Yeah,
on
you
this.
can read. Yeah, you can click on this, go to this Wechsler's memory scale on Elsevier, or maybe in the Google Scholar, just type this Wechsler's memory scale 2009, and then you'll get a summary of all the research that has been done with regard to cognitive impairment. And mood also gets affected, like depression, anxiety. All the tests we can use is genetic depression scale, Hamilton depression rating scale, Beck anxiety inventory. All this could be used.
Mom, I don't know how it's like in India, but I've noticed in certain countries and certain places across the cultures that many geriatric patients or older persons are being mistreated because they are misunderstood. And
It
if
is.
we
It is.
understand,
Hmm.
yes, if we understand all of these changes in the cognitive function and in the personality, then we can better able to handle these patients or maybe even our own parents and grandparents. A lot of people are abandoning their parents now, rejecting them, neglecting them, sending them away. And so I've seen a lot of it, and it's very heart-wrenching. I don't know in India if it's the same thing.
It is the same. It is the same everywhere, Sadhna. There are various studies that has been found with regard to elderly abuse. Many studies are done, and even I have done a paper on why I conducted this interview at the old age home, and they are sent to old age home, and then but still they don't want to file a case against the children. That why they are left in the old age home. So yes, studies are done.
They're, they're being abused even in the homes too. Not
Yes,
only
yes, yes.
by their
Mm,
children, in their homes they're being abused. In the homes
yes.
that they're sent to, whether if it's a government institution or whether if it's a paid institution, they're still being abused.
Yes, it is the issue. So retirement is a painful process, I guess, but I think we can work on our finances, maybe.
They say
So
once a man, twice a child, and we'll all have to go back to that stage again. So
mm,
that's why,
mm,
it's worrying because people don't know how to deal with this aspect of
yes.
aging. And so maybe more education needs to be done in this
Mm.
aspect.
And
Awareness has to
training
be. Mm,
and training could be done with family members too. Because remember, the abuse sometimes starts from in the home, right? So it will be good if training be done with family members as to how to handle those situations whenever the time comes.
mm.
I
Good
Yes,
think,
morning.
yes, I think,
Hans.
sorry. I think education is very important, especially for family
Yes.
members, as Ms. June said, because most times people who are not familiar with and about the changes, they're not familiar with the changes, they tend to think that these persons are being mischievous or they're wicked, things like that you'll see coming out, but they won't say it's because they're aging. They wouldn't know it's that is a like probably a part of the aging process.
Yes, Miss Brown, exactly. Okay, Miss Alicia, you have raised your hand. Miss West.
Hi, Miss. Good morning, everyone. My question is not about aging because I think at this time, I think I'm comfortable with the aging process. I think one of the things that helps you with that is just being prepared.
Yes.
My question is on the lifespan development. We would
Okay.
have looked at several theories that seek to explain lifespan, as well as some of them giving like a benchmark which indicates the commencement of these stages as well as the stage which a transition to the next stage will begin. However, over recent years, there have been an increase in persons who identify with the LGBT community, especially children. I'm just wondering what could be the contributory factors, like what has changed? Because if you're saying identity crisis happens a little bit later on in terms of the adolescent stage, why do we have this difficulty with children under 5 years old? And what would be the most appropriate response to that?
Okay, Alicia, I think you have talked about the community, the LGBT community. So, as you can see, it's a very recent topic. Even APA, also American Psychological Association, they have provided the guidelines. I think they have provided 19 or 20 guidelines with regard to the strategies, with regard to the solution that could be provided to the community. And when it comes to theories, as you can see, there is no talk of, there is no evidence to of with regard to this community, because I think psychologists have not studied, or maybe it was not a new topic. I mean, for them, it was not something which has gained their attention. But now, yes, people are studying about this community. But again, it's in the early adulthood, I guess, 20 to 40 years. People are studying here, but for young kids it's not there. But still we can find APA, American Psychological Association, who has done and provided guidelines on how people should be, what benefits and what what strategies should be applied to provide jobs and family support or financial support, or uh, society, how society should can contribute to the for the community. So we don't have evidence to that, Alicia. I think that is again we are lacking here behind. So like I mentioned, we also, as we know, psychology is something which changes from time to time. So I think you can search some studies or maybe write some articles and send it for publication to APA if you have certain questions or found some studies or some evidence to that.
Okay, but I was just asking because I'm a mother of boys and
Mm.
I don't have an issue if like my sons, get fascinated. Like, okay, my small child, he has a teddy bear. And maybe persons in older than me, like my mom, she would like object to that. Why is he having a teddy bear, or why is he so fascinated with things that we would normally consider as, things for girls? But for me, it's just a natural phase that he's going to eventually go through. But if you put tremendous pressure without giving him that support in general, I think I'm not too sure. I'm just wondering, like, where does the boundary stop and start? Even persons who are having difficulties, okay, in terms of gender role, like, how do you differentiate? And what would be the outcome if you don't put strict boundaries in place to ensure that, they're able to realize each phase of development without much crisis?
Okay, so I think when it comes to mothers or some elderly individuals in the family, they have their own mindset, right? With regard to their culture,
Yeah.
the kind of culture they have come with. So you cannot change their mindset. So you cannot give them. It's just the exposure. I think if they have different kind of exposure, or maybe they're exposed to certain realities or certain situation that is going on, or kids, so you might have heard about this flying effect also. The children are younger, our younger generation, they're 10 times intelligence than us, right? So that's the
Yeah.
flying effect. So in the same manner also, when it comes to culture, when it comes to experience, exposure, personality traits, all this has, they all has a different role to play from generation to generation. So when it comes to mothers, you cannot change them, but maybe we can listen to them in some way or the other way. But when it comes to the experience, the kind of experience or the kind of behavior that is displayed by your children, you can see, you can observe them. But at the same time, if the child they're liking, we cannot stop them. It's a natural phenomena again. So I think we cannot stop them, that they should not like this or they should like that only. So I think that's how I know a mother has to take the decision, right?
I would want
Thanks,
to add
Miles.
to that because
June.
I remember, put it right there. Thanks. Yeah, thanks. I remember years ago I had the same fear as to why boys must play with only boy toys alone and girls must only play with boy toys. However, I attend a few seminars, and there's one of the things they cleared up is that we as parents, right, in as much we're gonna be monitoring our children as to what they play. We could give them the benefit of the doubt that if a boy playing with a doll, the fact is that maybe in years to come he can become a doctor because he was able to learn the parts of a female doll, right? So at least that they were able to clear up some of my doubts I had, thinking that boys must only play with boy toys and girls must only play with girl toys. I don't know if they could able help in any way or the other, but that was one of my fear a couple of years ago.
Okay, thank you, June, for that. So yeah, again, I would say that it's the experience. It depends on the mother, what kind of exposure you have, what knowledge you have, what practical experience you have, and how you're going to raise your children. So positive parenting should be there. And let me tell you honestly, we do have less number of studies and less number of evidence in this area. But yes, we can, again, you can study, and first you can start with APA's guidelines on the thing. And positive parenting also, you should definitely read on positive parenting, and it comes with experience. It would come with experience. It doesn't has to be somewhere in the website or some books. It comes with experience, right? Okay, we have so many hands raised. Okay, Miss Anne. Yes, Miss Anne or Miss Charmin, whoever wants to speak.
Hi, Miss.
Hi, hello.
Good morning.
Hi, Miss.
Yes, good morning. Yes, good morning. Okay, who's
Good
speaking
morning,
first?
Miss.
Yes.
Okay, so what I wanted to ask, what I noticed with my grandmother, has she aged? My grandmother, you can ask her about something that happened 20 years ago, and she remembers that fluently. But should I tell her about something 10 minutes or let's say 15 minutes ago, probably half an hour ago, she asked me the same question half an hour later. So I'm trying to understand which theory we could probably use. How do we explain that memory loss as it relates to short-term memory, but she has the ability to remember things from years ago.
Okay, so what happens right now? I've shown you one screenshot. I'll share it once again. This paper is a very valid paper, and you can. So, according to the case that you have mentioned, her immediate and delayed memory is getting affected or impaired. But when it comes to, maybe I'm not the evidence that you have provided, the example that you get, I think you should go for a neuropsychological testing. I guess, according to the experience, since this is my PhD topic also, and I'm working on this, so I think grandmother might be affected with MCI, that is mild cognitive impairment. So immediate and delayed recall has been affected and impaired, but when it comes to episodic memory, that is 10 years ago, or the previous memory or things the person could remember, but immediate and delayed recall has been impaired. So I think you should go for neuropsychological testing if possible.
Okay, miss. Thank you.
Yeah. So according to the case that you have mentioned, immediate and delayed recall has been, so our memory are divided, is divided into two parts. So immediate and delayed has been affected, and episodic memory is intact. It's not impaired, and that's one of the start of, or we can stay on. I mean, she's getting affected with mild cognitive impairment, and that could lead to Alzheimer or some dementia if proper care is not taken at this stage.
Okay, miss. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Anne, Miss Anne, you want to speak something?
Good morning, Miss. Good morning. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers on the live.
Same to you. Thank
Miss, as I mentioned when I come on the call sometimes, I've been teaching for a number of years, and I look at some of the mothers or the caregivers when they would bring their children to school, right? And they would say to them, Mommy is going to come back for you in like half an hour, especially if they're crying. And then they would send somebody else to pick the child up.
you.
And as you mentioned earlier, some of the children would, behave in a manner that we would say is not acceptable. I am trying to figure now, is it because the mother did not show up back and somebody else showed up? That's the behavior, or in Guyana, we have a way of saying the child is spoiled. That's my first part of the question. Second thing is, are they going to grow out of that? Because I heard you said that even when they get like into relationship, they still do not trust.
Yes.
Is it?
Yes, yes. So evidence have provided, there are evidence with regard to the relationship, and it's in the notes also. Abina, Miss Abina, it's in the notes also. You can read from there itself, Unit 4. It's the avoidant attachment. You don't want, they don't trust the parents now, that because the mother has sent. Once you break the trust of the child, in Erickson's psychosocial stages of theory also, trust or mistrust. So because of that, there's this personality of avoidant attachment, and next time in relationship also when they grow old, because see, the kind of personality we are, it's the product of the kind of parenting style we have been provided when we were young, isn't it?
Yes.
Right. So yes, the trust, like you mentioned, mother has sent somebody else. So that is one of the mistake that has been done. We understand. We understand as a parent also we have some other responsibilities. We have been working, all those stuff. But so it's important when the child is maybe the solution could be this, that when the child grows up we can talk about it, or maybe right now also we can talk about it to the child. They will not understand, but still you can convey that these were the issues. And because again, conservation, you remember egocentrism, they would not understand the concept of point of other individuals. So once they're at the age group of 7 to 8 or 9, 7 to 11 years, between that age group they would understand others perspective. Egocentrism, otherwise they will not understand. Before 5 7 years they're not good. Again, not 7 years, but it depends from child to child again.
Okay, Miss,
So,
and I liked one more question. We were listening to why boys should not play with dolls, or not should not, but
no, yeah.
boys play with dolls, boys must play with motor cars, while girls play with. Who determines that? Why is it society that say boys should only play with motor cars and airplanes? So what? And then girls, when we get older, girls drive cars, they fly planes and everything, just like the males. I think we a bit confused there in some ways, because like some children would see a female driving a car, it's like, it looked funny to them because they only know that males should drive cars in some parts of the country.
There are so many
It's like
things.
this. It's
Yes.
like the same thing what they would say about colors. Boys must wear blue, girls to wear pink. But that would have changed because society changed. You see boys and you see men with pink now. So I think we need to move away from that. And up to now, you find persons when they're getting baby that put in, if it's boy thing, one side is blue and girl one side is pink. So I guess society confusing us.
Yes, it's the society, Miss June, you're right, it's the society. And we need to get rid of this stigmatized conception that has been given by the society. We need to get out of that.
Miss, also, my final thing on this, we still need as teachers to guide these children because I know of a child, a male, when he enters school, he only wants to go in the doll's house. We have like a little corner setup, we call it doll's corner. He would want to play with the dolls, everything that the girls are doing. And now he's a teenager and he still wants to behave like that. He's not growing out of it and he's heading down that line. So I think we still need to guide them, you know? I want to
Yes,
say so then. I don't know if it has anything to do with heredity, etc. Or society.
yes,
I don't know. But
yes.
he was playing in
Guidance
the
should be
dog all the time and now he wants to behave like that all the time still. He's a teenager and he's still doing the same thing.
mm. Guidance should be there, but you can give them some liberty. Don't be an authoritative parent, but an authoritarian parent. You know,
Mhm.
ask them, give them exposure to different things, and then guidance should be there. But yes, let them also decide what they want to do.
Okay. Thank you,
Yes,
Miss.
yes, thank you. Yes, Miss Amber.
Good morning, Miss.
Good morning.
My question is not on the agent, but it's a question that has to do with Block 3, Unit 2. And it
Okay.
comes under a model of human information processing. In the processing where we looked at how information is being processed by um, storing you have the choice of where you can continuously rehearse the information, move it out of the area and shift it into long-term memory. That's from the short-term to long-term memory, or you move it out of the area completely. And it says that when you want to process when you need to use the information, that through retrieval, you go and you move that information back into your short-term memory and you use it to problem solve or so. How does that process apply to persons with repressed memories? Let's say a person who would have gone through some traumatic incident or experience of rape, maybe an accident, would have witnessed probably a murder. As was said that the repressed memory is unconscious. How does that work for a person with such experience?
Yes, so Miss Abba, I think it's a very intriguing question. I think many studies have done on this, but still psychologists and scientists they have not found the evidence to if we process information from short term, from working memory to short term and then long term, then why we are not able to get rid of the unconscious memories or uh, you know or those memories from the PTSD. But I think you can view this in such a manner that when we talk about the information processing, they're talking about how we process the memory. They have
Mhm.
provided the evidence with regard to attention, but not with regard to the experiences. If it's an experience, it's going to be there in the long term only. So they have talked about the process when we pay attention. You have to understand that when it comes to memory or the information processing model from working memory to short term and then long term, it's they're talking about the attention, the sensory thing. But when it comes to PTSD experiences or certain unpleasant experience, it is we cannot get rid of that. It's not that I mean, yes, people are trying to in psychoanalysis or in clinical therapy, people are trying to use this formula that maybe we can get rid of this, but there are no evidence that how we can get rid of our certain memories. Memories is there where it is located, how we can remember so many things, and why we cannot remember certain things, it depends on our motivation also. But at the same time, studies also have found that we tend to remember painful experiences more as compared to the happy one. So that is also one of the evidence. So it is maybe you can find some studies on this, but uh, but I think my answer would be that when it comes to the model, information mapping
It
model, it's they are talking about the sensory experience. Yes, Ms. Jo.
once is a
Okay,
once
thank
is a
you.
traumatic event for the individual. There's no way flashback would call flashback, right?
Yes. Yes.
Will go away. It's not
No, what
something
I'm
that
thinking
This
in
should die
terms
away,
of,
but one of the things we would want to do is that when person's going through these things you were talking,
Ms. June, you
sorry,
got stuck.
yes, we would want to let them know that it is not going to leave. Pardon me? I didn't get that.
You got stuck. I think your
Yes.
network got
Sorry about
stuck.
that. Once it's a traumatic, yes, once it's a traumatic event, there will be flashbacks. From time to time, an individual will sit and they will remember what they went through, right? We cannot take that away from them. We don't even try to let them know that, well, okay, it will go away. We talk to them, we let them know that it will remain with them. But then when that time comes, you try to counsel them as to how to deal with it. But there will be flashbacks from traumatic events.
no, I'm speaking in terms of repressed memories, where persons might have gone through a traumatic experience and cannot account for it for years. We're talking about like retrieving information now. So that person would have probably been raped and just can't recall. They might appear in court and cannot give evidence because they have no recollection. So I'm talking in terms of the process of retrieving information to make use of that information to solve a problem or so.
Okay, Miss Amber, for that you can read a paper by Lotus. She has done a research on this, and it's the eyewitness testimony. She has done a lot of research on this because she has also interviewed various individuals where they couldn't recall the crime that has taken place in front of them. So maybe it's the motivation or the fear that they don't want to give the testimony. So just try to read this paper by Loftus and what was her name? Loftus. Yes, Loftons and Colleen, I guess. And she has done a research on eyewitness testimony. You'll find some evidence in
All
that
right.
paper.
So I'm asking one last question, right? Now, in a case like that, right? Let me say if a child was raped, right? So is it the child cannot remember exactly what transpired the first time, or is it the child wouldn't remember if they have to talk about it the second time? Because if the first time it happens and the child got to talk about it, there's where we would want to use this forensic recording as to get all the information from the child, because after then it's going to be very traumatic for the child to go over it. So I'm trying to understand as if they can't remember the first time what happened, or if they relate what happened the first time, but the second time they can't remember.
It's like in the first instance, you're saying it's an unconscious effort where the entire incident, no recollection, blank. And let's say if it happened like at 8 years, that the information now can be retrieved when that person is 40. Say
Okay,
it's
that is also
unconscious.
an evidence to false
So that
memory.
is what is puzzling me as to, okay, since we have all this process of retrieving information, what is this this repressed memories? Why if such a traumatic incident occurred to someone, they cannot recall anything, nothing at all. They cannot tell the police anything about the incident. But 40 years later, little detailed
Okay,
information.
Miss Amber,
Yes, could it
yes,
be?
Miss Amber, evidence to we have this evidence to false memory, construction of false memory also, and it could be one of the reason could be that maybe now they as a child we never knew that there's this concept of child abuse or something, but when we grow older and we have seen that yes, we also have I also have again some studies I could recall some studies where the child was abused, but there is no evidence to that. But now, the at the age of 16, when the child was 16 or 17 years, I guess, the she was a girl child, and then she could recall the events. She believes that she has been, abused physically. So that first of all, that's the incident of construction of false memory at the same time, and then experience towards the understanding of child abuse, so that the evidence could be found in psychoanalysis also.
Okay, thank you.
Also in PTSD, it's not just about rape, and
You
so
miss.
it's like people coming back from war. They also have post-traumatic stress disorder, and some one part of this is dissociative memory. They have different things like selective amnesia and so on. So maybe something happens along that way. Maybe the chemicals in the brain, how it occurs at that time, the transition for that memory to go from one place to the other. Something could have been affected in that time with post-traumatic stress or due to the overwhelming stress of the event, you have this occurring. So that's an option too. So we have to do some research on it. It's interesting though.
Yes. So first of all, if you want to understand how it has occurred at the age of 40, the memories of abuse, you have to understand psychoanalysis first of all. Again, psychoanalysis is a deep. It's a very. I mean, uh, what do I say? It is something which has to be understood at the deeper level. The psychoanalysis, the concept of psychoanalysis, right? So maybe it is the false memory, maybe it's the triggering point, or maybe they have heard about, the person has heard about the concept of child abuse now, and he has witnessed recent child abuse with some other children. So that is how it has got triggered. Or maybe it has there was this case also in some of the book of psychoanalysis I was reading long years back, where psychoanalysts would uh, you know make the patients believe that they had experienced child abuse, and they would come to the therapist for the therapy session in order to take money. So you can later it was found that the person has built the memories, the false memory of abuse in them, in their psyche. So there was no abuse that has happened with those individuals, with those patients, but the therapist was able to instill the memory of abuse in them, so that they would come for therapy and session. So there are evidence to this also.
This, excuse me,
So
could it be a matter?
psychoanalysis.
This, excuse me, could it be a matter of defense mechanism that the brain decides that this person is not able to handle the traumatic experience, so the memory is repressed, and then later on something triggers that memory that when the person is able to deal with that issue?
Miss Prince, I didn't get your voice. Can somebody repeat a question or statement?
Yes, I was saying that could it be a matter of a defense mechanism where the brain decides that this person is not able to handle the situation at that point, so the memory is repressed or the incident is repressed until later on in life when the person is able to handle that situation. That's when they remember what happened to them.
Yes, defense mechanism. Yes, so that's what I'm saying. When you understand psychoanalysis at a deeper level, you'll definitely understand certain questions. So defense mechanism, yes, it has a role to play in. We do that, right? Repression and rationalization, projection. In day-to-day life, we do use that to get rid of certain painful memories. Yes.
Or miss, or could the
Okay, Miss.
individual choose to suppress that feelings? They choose to
Sorry,
suppress
Miss
that
June.
feelings. They don't want
Yes,
to
the individual
remember.
choose to suppress.
I was
Yes,
asking you,
yes, yes.
Miss, if the individual choose to suppress, because we have cases where persons choose to suppress that feelings. They don't want to remember
Yes, yes.
anything. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to have um, intervention, but they just choose to suppress it. And then later on,
Yes,
they
yes,
lash
the
out.
individual choose. Yes.
Hi,
Okay,
Miss.
thank you.
Yes, hi, Alicia.
So I just
Alicia,
want
just
to
a
ask. Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, can we take question from Miss Denisa? It's been long. She has raised her hand. After that, we'll take you. Denisa, you want to say
You.
something?
Good morning. My
Good
question
morning.
is relating to the LBGTQ thing. So last night I read that the male usually have the X and Y chromosome, and the man, when he sends a chromosome over to the egg, that is sealed and signed. Whether the person is born a male or a female, that is it. There's no changing after that, right? So later down in life, I've understand that children would say that they feel as though they were born um into the opposite sex body. Um, the question that I'm asking now, since obviously that is not hereditary, is it possible that the person was stuck in one of the psychosexual stages that they're now claiming that they feel as though they're born into another first sex, like the opposite sex body?
Denisa, we don't have any evidence to this because when these theories were formulated, I don't think any respective psychologist have talked about the concept of the community in any of the stages. We don't find any evidence to that. So it's a new topic. It's a new thing that has come in the recent years. These theories have been formulated long years back, and I don't think so. The concept were prevalent at that time. The roles and responsibilities, there is a confusion between the roles and responsibilities, the identity. It's not identity crisis. They're not talking about identity crisis with regard to if I'm a female and I'm born into a male body. No, they're not talking about that. They're talking about the psychological uh, identity crisis, that what is my role, what I want to do with my lives, and other interventions, but not about this topic. So there are no evidence to this, but now what you can do is you can read the current researchers, what psychologists are they saying. So now we don't have any theories till now, but I think papers are there. Some papers would be helpful, so you can read them. You can go to Google Scholar and find some studies to that.
Okay, but I still believe in the facts that science presents, since we're dealing with science and psychology.
What in psychology? What
No, the
did you
science
say?
the science is that you cannot be born into the opposite sex body, since the father gave were either X or Y. So
Yes.
what you come out as is what was genetically determined or genetically predetermined, that you should be either a male or a female. So if
Right.
you want to do any change, you're supposed to do that on a genetical level or a chromosome level. So
Mm-hmm.
persons that say that they were born into a different body, I think that they are going through some, or they are stuck in some one of the psychosexual stages, and they need probably counseling or something to figure out
Yes, we
what
have to
caused.
understand. Yeah, I think we have to understand at the psychological level, but no theorists have talked about this, about this topic at any of the stages, at any of the psychosexual stages. Neither Freud, neither Erikson or Piaget, they have not talked about this in their theories. So I think you guys are some now the young researchers and new young theorists. So you can, if there are certain questions, there are queries, any thoughts coming to your mind, you can write them and get it published. Why not? Maybe you can become famous, and in lifespan, I'll be reading about you all in future. Yes. Yes, Alicia, can we take your question now?
Hi, Miss. It wasn't a question. I was just going to add to the conversation about repressed memories. I honestly think it's a coping mechanism that we sometimes use just to block out these unpleasant experiences. I remember a time having a conversation with my cousin, and she was recalling something that traumatic that happened with me being present there. And I was telling her, like, I just can't remember anything. But she was like, you were right there. And I said, no. And I'm thinking, like, it's just a mechanism that we use. It's at that time, it might be a deliberate effort not to remember, but it happens unconsciously that we choose not to, get into it because we probably don't have the coping mechanism to deal with it at that time. So I guess at 40, when you can deal with it, it would, come up. I'm just saying.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Alicia. Thank you for that. Yes. Okay, Miss Nalini, you want to add something?
I was just wondering if you could comment
Excuse me, miss.
Yes.
Hey, good day. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. Um, I was reading some information some time ago, but I can't remember directly what it talks about in terms of sexuality. Um, Sexuality has its biological implications, right? The chromosomal expressions, Y and the X, as my colleague was expressing. But sexual orientations is something totally different. Um, it has to do with a lot of preferences, right? Sexual preferences. Um, I can't really explain. I have to go back to the document, but it's not just exclusive on sexual biological expression that determines of someone's sexual orientation. It's not really about that. It's about psychological and other cognitive abilities. So if I can share, when I go back to the document, I can elaborate more about it. So that would
Yes.
explain, it can explain why a child, um, a male, would have difficulties in say in choosing whatever sex at a particular age. I didn't born as a male. I born as a female. Um, so it's not considered as a disorder, a sexual disorder, by the psychologists in the world of today. I have a video on it. I have to go back to it. Maybe I can share it with the group in the WhatsApp.
Yes, everyone you can share that.
Um,
Everyone can watch.
Mr.
So,
Mr.
so
Huge, we wouldn't want to negate the fact that um, that one of the factors could be abuse. We wouldn't want to rule out that. Apart from all the different things, and these things could stem from some form of abuse. Right? We want to negate that fact that could be one of the contributing factors.
Yes, it could be one of them. So that is, it's all earlier it was considered a disorder, but now it's all the general psychological contribution to this. You can again provide evidence. You can read some good papers, and I would also want you all to read the APA guidelines for the community, so that we could be sensitive towards, and provide solution to the problems. Yes, Mr. Wendell.
Yeah, Miss. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Happy Mother's Day. Miss, is hypnosis or hypnotism a part of formal psychology?
No, it is still considered as pseudopsychology. So Freud has also worked upon this, but he left his work in between. He was mocked by his friends, and then he stopped working on this. But it's not as scientific in nature because we don't have proper scientific evidence. For psychological tools and neuropsychological testing, we have evidence, but for hypnosis, we don't have. So
Because some of the discussion that we're having, I know that folks were able to recall certain things, or it is alleged that folks have been able to recall certain things when they have gone through the process of hypnosis. So I'm just wondering what would disqualify it, in as much as they seem to be proven, they seem to be facts that lend to the notion that the process of hypnosis can bring cognitive recall.
Oh yes, I think it has a lot of work has to be done in this area. So Freud started, but his work on psychoanalysis also has some roots in hypnosis. So when you'll study psychoanalysis, you will get the evidence in the work of in the field of hypnosis also. So a lot of work has to be done. So that's what I'm saying. You guys are the emerging, budding psychologist and therapist. So you should work on this. It's not just the degree, but what contribution you're going to do in the field. That is also an important part.
All right, thank you, Miss.
Okay, so like I mentioned, this would be my last class. In case if you have any doubt after the reading, from next week, Sir would be meeting you all for MPC 3 and 4, I guess. Yes, MPC 3. So here we come to the end of MPC 1 and 2. In case if you have any doubt, then you can inform. So maybe write a mail to my mail IDs. I'll reply to that, and then or maybe if you want me to, you can collect your all of the doubts, and then we can meet in some other classes also. Why not? Right?
Excuse me, Miss, are you gonna tell us a little about your examination structure and stuff like that? You're gonna give us any insights?
Yes, I think Sir has already mentioned that you'll be getting the assignment questions in a day or two. Yes. Yesterday I mentioned that, right? Assignment questions will be shared shortly, and you can once you're done with your assignment, you'll have your examinations also soon. I think in the month of, I'm not sure, but soon you'll get to know all the deadlines. But you have your classes till September, right? So enjoy your classes first. Read them thoroughly. This is the time that you read, you know, and ask your queries. And yeah,
It was a pleasure
the
having
structure
you,
you'll be.
Miss. We enjoy
Yeah,
all
same here. It
courses
was
with you.
lovely interaction. Yes, your questions, everyone, your questions are so intriguing, and it has added to my knowledge and in my experience. And it was lovely teaching you all. I mean, not teaching, but yeah, I'm just teaching is not a I mean, it is not something where we teach, but it's something where we share knowledge. So everybody, and it was really I'm so blessed and grateful that you also studied and you came back and then you'll share your experience and knowledge. Otherwise, it's really boring that one per person is speaking and then the others are just listening. So you all also have made an effort to read and come back and share your experience in the class. So it was really lovely meeting you all. I hope I'll see you in some other classes. And I don't know if you are making proper use of your time or not. But yes, please read. You have to read in this thing. Reading is the only option. You cannot, go through. You cannot flip the pages and understand the knowledge. So the